Alright guys, so we have a really fun dish today. It's a Japanese dish called hamburger steak, or hambagu in Japanese I believe. I don't know if I'm butchering it, so if there's any Japanese viewers out there, please let us know. We're going to be breaking it up into 3 simple steps, so let's get cooking guys. So the ingredient list will be down in the description below, so make sure you get everything before you start this recipe. Step 1 out of 3 guys is to prep the food. This is going to save you so much time in the end. We're going to be starting off with 200 grams of diced onions. We found a Japanese recipe online, which we did tweak up a bit to make it a little healthier, but everything is in grams, so we will convert everything into cups and into the things that we usually use. But for those metric viewers out there, just stick to grams and stick to a food scale. So up next, we're going to be measuring about 50 grams of panko breadcrumbs. What this does is it helps bind everything together, so that meat, that ground beef that we're going to be putting this into really comes together, especially with the addition of egg. This is going to make one patty instead of like cooking up ground beef into a pot. So up next, we got about half a head of garlic. We like a ton of garlic in our food, so you don't need to put this much, but I mean, if you love garlic as much as I do, then just put it in. So we got half, or we just got 1 egg. We can't go half an egg, we just go 1 egg in this, and that's gonna help bind everything together. We got 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce in here, or around 30 grams if you're measuring it on a food scale. So it should look something like this. There's no need to mix it in yet. We're gonna be mixing it with the beef anyways. So next, we're going to be adding around 800 grams or 24 ounces of ground beef in this, and make sure when you buy this to get a really leaner cut of ground beef. You can get like a 93.7. That's what we got for this. So just get a really big bowl that can fit everything, so when you mix it in, it doesn't really just splash out everywhere. And so we're just going to dump it in. We got the first solution and dump it in as well. But pro tip here, make sure to use some gloves, because this is our second batch of doing this, because we kind of messed up the first one and it was super oily and it was super hard to get off our hands. So make sure you wear some gloves for this guys. Alright, just get your hands in there, mix it up. You want to make sure everything is really well incorporated and everything's sticking. You want to let that egg bind. If it's not binding enough, feel free to add another egg in there. So if you're looking at this, those onion pieces are really big. We bought a pre-packaged diced onion, so make sure you dice it yourself and make sure they're smaller than that. And what Jack is doing here is getting them in between our hands. You can see why this gets really oily on your hands if you don't wear those gloves, right? So just kind of form them into patties, go one hand to the other, kind of throw it and keep throwing it to the other hand. And then after you've done that, or you've seen a patty shape, you can start forming it with your hand and it should look something like this. Up next, we got the Brussels sprouts. It's pretty simple. You just want to cut off the stem, turn it 180 and cut it in half. Same thing for this one. I'm just going to be watching Jack do this. Cut the stem off, turn it 180 and cut it in half. Alright, so once you cut like 1,000 of these, just put it into a big enough plate or like a bowl, so when you season it, it gets across all the Brussels sprouts. So we have a lot of videos on how to make rice, on how to wash it, and how to cook it with like a pot or a rice cooker. So make sure to check those out. We'll put like that little link on the top right corner, or just check it out in the description below. So now we got step 2 out of 3. We're going to be cooking up the food. This is a pretty simple recipe. You can make a lot of mistakes and still make this taste really good. But anyways, we're going to be showing you guys a lot of tips and tricks that you guys can use in your meal prep so that it can stay fresh week long. First things first, we're going to be adding something like canola oil into the pot, maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of this. What you want to be using is a high heat cooking oil, nothing like olive oil or maybe coconut oil. It's going to burn in the pan, and when that happens, it creates a lot of bad chemicals. So make sure to stick to something like canola or grapeseed oil. Once the oil is in the pan, we want to make sure we wait for maybe a minute or 2 so that the oil is scorching hot when we add the patties in. We're just searing the patties right now so we can add them all in later when we steam them. We want to create a really nice flavorful crust, and that won't happen if the pan is not scorching hot. So just place the patties away from you, since Gordon Ramsay says to do so, and then try not to overcrowd your pan. We can comfortably fit like maybe 6 to 7 into ours, so just add accordingly to however much you can put in. So after you put them in the pan, just kind of move them around so that maybe there's like a 1-inch gap between each one. You don't want them to kind of stick here, and just flip them after maybe 2 minutes of cooking on one side, and then try not to touch these. You know, Gordon Ramsay always says not to touch them, and he really makes a point there because you don't want those juices to come out. And right when they're seared guys, you want to take them out. You don't want to overcook these or they will burn. So So after you take the meat out, just add around maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of water in there. A lot of fondant is formed there, so you can see this water quickly going brown because all those flavors from the meats have stuck to the pan. We don't want to waste that. And so we put around maybe 3 tablespoons. Actually, we put around 4 tablespoons of ketchup in this. It's gonna bring a nice sweet taste into the glaze. It's gonna be almost like barbecue sauce. And now what we put in was around 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. We kind of ran out here, so use a little more than we did. So just get your spatula and move it all around. We're going to be creating a glaze here, and it's going to seem like there's not enough liquid in here, but that's totally fine because we're going to be steaming the beef in here. So just add everything in. It's okay to overcrowd the pan because everything's going to be cooking all at once. It's almost like an oven or like a rice cooker for the beef. So make sure you bring that fire down to a low on this stage and then put that lid over. And what that's going to do is create a lot of steam, and a lot of liquid is going to seep out of the beef, and a lot of fat is going to seep out of the beef. And it's going to go straight into that sauce we made. It's going to enhance that flavor, and it's going to create an awesome glaze. And now the sauce is complete. So now you can mix it in. Let the patty steam for 20 minutes, and when you get our 9 beautifully made hamburger steaks that are just getting better every second that they're getting cooked. Now that the sauce is finished, you want to get a spoon and push all the meat onto one side and tilt the pan so that the glaze drops down to the edge closest to you. Get the sauce on the spoon and baste all the patties with that beautiful sauce until you got every single one covered. Remember, this is where all the seasoning for the beef is coming from, since we didn't season our patties beforehand. We never season our patties with salt beforehand, guys. The seasoning always comes after the patties are formed, unless you guys like eating hockey pucks. With this method, the meat stays nice and juicy while staying fresh for the week to come. So now it's time to cook up our Brussels sprouts. We're going to be using canola oil once again, maybe around 2 to 3 tablespoons. And once again, I'm going to repeat myself, no olive oil and no coconut oil for this step, guys. So just put your Brussels sprouts in the wok. We could only fit around half a portion of ours, but if you have a big enough wok where you could put all of it in, might as well do it so you don't have to do this process twice like we did. We're going to season it now with salt and pepper. You can't actually see us, but we put the black pepper in there right now, and we're going to add around 2 tablespoons of salt. So just add 3 tablespoons of pure sesame oil into this. It's going to add a lot of fragrance and a lot of nutty flavors into the Brussels sprouts. So what we're going to be adding next is mirin. It's going to add a lot of sweetness and a little bit of acidity. Around 2 tablespoons for this dish is fine. So once everything's added, just take the next 15 minutes to just kind of mix everything in. This is a lot of Brussels sprouts, so it's going to take a while. But like I said before, Brussels sprouts are a really easy vegetable to cook, so a lot of mistakes can still happen and it can still come out really good. This took us around maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but you see all those brown spots and how everything kind of got caramelized in the pan. That's what you want to be aiming for when you cook this up. So now we got step 3 out of 3, we're going to be plating up the food. So the portions for this is around 100 grams of white rice, 1 whole patty, and around 150 grams of Brussels sprouts. Each meal is going to come out to be $2.39, pretty amazing price. We're going to put the nutrition facts down in the description below, and thank you guys so much for watching.
Okay, authentic Japanese Hamburger steaks.
Hamburger.
Hamburger steaks for the Americans out there.
Yeah. So you guys get 9 healthy meals, a lot less fat than the original recipe, and they're really easy to make for this one. And if you guys like the content, feel free to like the video and subscribe. And if you guys made this on Instagram, feel free to tag us and tag Asian Fit Meals if you guys have made it yourselves.
Yep, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys. Can they notice?
I don't think so, dude.
You don't think? That's kind of funny though. Yeah, we'll just do that, huh? That's kind of badass.
Is it recording?